Today's episode is sponsored by Some Edibles CBD-infused products. That's SUM Edibles and can be found at
someedibles.com.
They have a variety of yummy treats, including
vegan organic gummies,
brown buttered chocolate chip cookies,
and marshmallow cereal bars, just to name a few.
For fans of the podcast, you can use the promo code WIFE, that's W-I-F-E, to receive 10% off your order.
Again, promo code WIFE for 10% off your order.
So, head to someedibles.com today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drunken Housewife Reviews. I'm Sarah, the Drunken Housewife.
And I'm her host, husband, Ian, and I try to keep her on the rails as best I can.
And it's a full-time job. We are here with one of my childhood crushes, Stanley Livingston. A lot of you may know him as Chip Douglas from My Three Sons. And yes, I've been singing this theme song in my head for like a week now. I apologize. But you're more than just Chip Douglas. You've done directing, producing, right? I mean, you've worn a ton of hats. And one thing that we just watched was your first post My Three Sons movie, Private Parts, which I'm trying to think of a good, interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting film.
It's a very, very interesting film. Has a cult following, we discovered.
Yeah, it's had it for years,
yeah.
Actually.
Well,
I think a lot of people wanted to see it, but it ended up in the MGM archives.
Really?
And they really had trouble releasing it to theaters because of the title. They sort of shot themselves in the foot. And when I came onto the film and met the producer and director, I said, "Are you guys sure about this title? It sounds very salacious. You're going to get an X rating." And they battle not to get an X rating, and there's nothing, there's no frontal nudity or anything like that in it.
I mean, you title, see some breast, but
that was common back then.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That I mean, compared to what you see these days, that's nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, there is like a couple of parts where it's actually shown, but a lot of it is actually implied.
Suggestive.
That's the way they did it. I think what really gave it the R rating that it got was they added some violence that wasn't in the original script, where the ladies walking or the girls walking down the hall at the beginning, somebody steps out of the shadows with a machete and off goes their head. Somebody watched the film and made that call, said, you got to spice this up at the beginning. You just can't play the creepiness of it for so long without some action. And anyway, that wasn't in there. So when I saw it at the initial screening at MGM, brought my whole family to see it, including my young daughter and my young brother-in-law.
Oh my! And you're like, that's not the movie I made. That's not
My Three Sons.
No, it's not.
Which probably, I mean, I've got to give you kudos for, and I give anybody kudos when they've played the same character for a long period of time, like that first thing that they do after it, they try to get away from that character.
Try not to be tight.
Try not to be tight. And I've got to give you credit for that, because this movie was totally not My Three Sons. It was, away from that image. And I've got to give you credit for doing that, for taking that step.
Yeah. Well, the movie was that way. I can't say my character was too far from, the goody two shoes guy from My Three Sons, but that's what they wanted for that character. They wanted, and I sort of personified. That's probably why they were interested in me. Me being there just defined itself. Here's a nice guy getting suckered into this, really kind of weird situation with bizarre, murderous characters, and but it worked, for what it was. I mean, I'm proud of the film, even though it has that title, which probably is what made it a cult film. Like I said, it has the promise of things that it never delivers with that title, but it's shot really well. It was clear to me that Paul Bartel, the director, was kind of like a would-be Alfred Hitchcock film, and had Alfred Hitchcock kept making films, and well into the 70s, this would have been the kind of film he made, and would have shown a little bit more, a little more graphic. And the guy who was the DP on it, Andrew Davis, at that time, he was just a young guy trying to get gigs and ended up with the cinematography job. But Andrew Davis went on to become a big time Hollywood director. Directed Perfect Murder with Michael Douglas. There's a bunch of films that he did. One with Harrison Ford, and I think another. I forgot who it was. But they were major films.
Well, and I mean, Paul Bartel, that name is known to us, both acting and directing, because we both know if you
Rock and Roll High School,
Chopping Mall,
I'm all about all that stuff. Kind of weird B-movie, weird stuff like that.
Yeah, if you see him in the first 5 minutes of a movie, it's going to be a wild ride, an interesting movie, and we still at the end we were just like, what? Yeah. Because when she got, I'm trying to like not give away too much.
At
the end,
part where the girl turns into her aunt at the end, that was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it's like, did she just totally like lose her mind, or the aunt talks about the?
I think that that was the implication, is that she became the new aunt or grandma. And,
exactly. The aunt had said something about watching the spirit leave the body, so they kind of maybe implied that Aunt Martha's spirit went into her niece, and she's just occupying a new body.
Could be. Lisa Benson. Such an odd choice for that grandma, but she or aunt. She was delightful in the part, and she was always good in whatever she did. So she was a perfect choice for that part.
Yeah, we because I'm one of those people, I like looking up on IMDb, like, what else has this person done? And the guy that played the priest, and I'm using quotes because if you watch the movie, you understand why I'm going priest.
Well, especially the leather outfit.
He went on to narrate Winnie the Pooh videos.
Really? Wow.
And I'm like, okay, childhood blown there. Because you're like, you hear somebody's voice or you see their face and you're like,
well, he has a very distinct voice.
That's familiar. And so you look it up and it's like, oh my God, he's the narrator of like 10 or I think like a dozen different Winnie the Pooh videos.
Yeah. Well, the guy that played the cop had been on My Two Sons, John Lepton.
Oh,
yeah. He was a real familiar actor back in the 70s. So I knew him from Sons when I got the part. And kind of talked. The only people I didn't know was Ann Ryman and John Ventantonio. I think they were brought in from New York for whatever reason. Those were the two people Paul wanted, and they were both really good.
The character of George until the end, until that end reveal, there's something wrong with
as my really wrong
he's not quite right.
As my mother would say, that boy ain't right.
With his camera and going out in the middle of the night and photographing activities in the parks, activities, and kind of like he was into sort of kinky stuff.
But then the reveal at the end, I love the twists at the end movies. I love those. Where it's like you're cruising along and you think it's one thing, but this character isn't right, but you don't think it's that. And I'm not going to say what the twist is.
I thought that was very Alfred Hitchcock, because if you remember at the end of Psycho, there's kind of that weird little thing at the end.
He's totally
the cat set up. Wouldn't eat a fly or whatever. He says, well, I'm so harmless, I wouldn't eat a fly.
Because at the end I was just like, wait a minute, rewind, was that? And he's like, that's what you saw. And
well, it kind of reminds me of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. That was the big reveal for Z-Man. So that's kind of a theme to a certain degree in some films. Where a lot of the representation, there's a lot of confusion. We know looking back, but there's a lot of confusion with gender roles and this, that, and the other, and how they were perceived, and that whole kind of nobody really understood. And you kind of, but for the time, is an interesting movie and an interesting take.
It would fit in much better now than back then. That was sensational. But you know,
Yeah.
today's whole gender, you know,
Oh
I
yeah,
know
because there's a lot
everybody's
of,
interested in
yeah.
whatever you are, but yeah, well, Z-Man, I did a film with him later, actually, for a buddy of mine.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, he's in Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold that
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I was in,
Gotcha.
but he was the doctor in that, the mad doctor who was making the potion that made the girl 60 feet tall. Uh, John
Okay.
Lazar. John Lazar
Yeah.
was in
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, because this movie had a couple of three people. The girl that played Cheryl's friend, that was like
Mm-hmm.
her very first movie role that I
Mm-hmm.
can find.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and I'm like, she did a decent job for her first movie role. She had
Yeah.
potential, and then she just kind of
Well, that's what always
it's
happens to
like,
people. They get a
yeah,
film and then they don't know how to get the next film or get an agent or what they're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
in
yeah,
between. That's why, flash forward to, I guess, about 10 years ago, I finally made well, I call it a documentary. It's really an educational piece. It's a 10
Yeah.
part series called The Actor's Journey. And
Yes.
it's for actors, whatever
hmm
your age, 18 to 100. But what it's about is not acting. That's where actors go completely wrong. They think, all I'm going to be doing now is, I went to school, college, university, learned how to act, and I'm going to be acting. Well, maybe, I'm sure you'll get a little work. You might get some work on camera, on stage, but what you find out as you become a professional actor, 95% of your time is spent on the business side of being an actor, meaning the non-performance skills, learning the non-performance skills you need to start a career, to perpetuate a career, to
Yeah.
grow a career. And
yeah,
that's not taught. So I put this 10-hour long program together. I brought 100 people from the entertainment industry. One of the criteria was that they had at least 20, 30 years of experience in the industry, meaning working. 45 of the people had either been nominated for, or won Academy, Emmy, Golden Globe Awards. So you're literally getting
Very cool.
information from the horse's mouth. But it wasn't just from actors. That's the other thing. You can't get all your information from actors because they only know part of the story.
yeah,
So I
Yeah.
brought in producers, directors, showrunners, agents, managers, casting directors, casting people, the president of the Screen Actors Guild, the president of the Directors Guild of America. So
Very
these are the
cool.
people
Yeah.
that teach the program. So it's a 10-hour long program.
uh,
Well, it was available on DVD. We pulled it up. We've been transcoding it so we can get it up as streaming media, and it should be up
Gotcha.
maybe in about another month or so. Anyway,
okay,
yeah, for anybody interested in that, it's called The Actor's Journey. Or if you go to YouTube, just type in The Actor's Journey, and there's about 50, 60 clips that we use to kind of tantalize
Yeah.
the
okay,
I
audience
did
or the
watch a couple of
actors,
those. Yes.
yeah, as
yeah,
to who's involved in the program and who's teaching it. So yeah, I thought it was a
yeah,
good thing, and
that,
I just wanted
yeah,
to put something back in the industry that I thought would be
Oh well,
useful
yes,
for
very
my
useful.
comrades.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
that sounds like something that should almost be like shown as like course material for people
Yeah,
who
you would
are,
think universities would want it. I constructed it that way, thinking at some point maybe that would happen. Like I said, I turned it into a 10-part program that's about, I don't know, an hour and a half long each, thinking that most of the universities have 10 weeks, or at least UCLA did, and you would
Yeah.
show one of these and have a discussion about it, and then do a Q&A to resolve all the
yeah,
issues, because even though the actual material you're watching is very comprehensive and has things in it
Mhm.
that you just wouldn't think to ask until you get further into your career,
yeah,
but you need to know that they precipitate other questions.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I know, I mean, like for us, our daughter has special needs, and I didn't even know the questions to ask when she was born. And so now that I know the answers, I'm always trying to give those answers to
Mhm.
parents who have younger kids or who are just starting their journey.
Yeah.
And it is a valuable thing for people who have been there, for people who have done the journey. You're right. I mean, to
Yeah,
share
I think in
knowledge,
any
it's
walk
like,
of life, you need the
yeah,
people who've done it, that have the
Yeah.
experience to transmit that information to younger people when they're starting out, so they don't waste so much time trying to invent the same wheel, literally. It stops that, and you'll know what it took us 10 years to know, but you can learn it in 10 hours over whatever, a couple days or a week. You review the material till you think you understand it, and then go on. And some of it may not even make that much sense until you're actually confronted with it. And then you're gonna go, oh, that's what they were talking about when they said this. Don't do this, and I did it, and this is what happened to me. Now I know why they said don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that.
It's almost something you need to like take notes and keep with you. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm in this situation. What did they say? Oh, don't do that. Okay.
Right. Don't bring that gun to your audition, even though you're playing a bad guy.
That's especially these days.
Terrorize the casting director and the producer and the director. They don't want you bringing weapons to auditions, even though you go, hey, I'm going to impress them. I'm going to show them I'm really crazy, like it says in the script. I'm a crazy guy. Well, guess what? You just had your last audition ever.
That's the kind of thing that's I can understand. That's a definite no. That's a definite don't.
There's just so many things. That's the problem. When I got the idea for this, I thought it was going to be a little 2-hour program. I was originally just going to do it myself. And then I thought, well, you know what? I shouldn't really do it. Maybe I should host it and introduce the segments at the most, and get other people involved from the industry to teach it. I thought it would make it much more interesting for the viewer while they're learning this material, but it becomes more seamless that way, that you're just going from person to person who's continuing a conversation and adding their point of view and the things you need to know about it. So, one moment you may be talking to Melissa Gilbert, and then it's, the director, Richard Donner, and then it goes to Sherman Hemsley. And that's literally the way the whole 10 hours goes down with these 100 people that were involved. So it's fun to watch. That's what I'm saying. If you're all interested in the entertainment industry and are familiar with people from TV and movies, then you may not be as familiar with the people who are behind the scenes, like, a lot of people don't even know who Richard Donner is or was, and, what movies he directed. But, he was a powerhouse in the industry.
And,
to have somebody like that trying to help your career and who knows whereof he speaks, that's a very, very important thing. The problem is the people that try to teach the business side of the industry are usually teachers, and what little smattering they give you, but they became teachers. They never had the actual experience. So it's, so short-sighted. It's usually, what you hear, oh yeah, no, I know the business of acting. Get a resume, get a headshot, put a reel together. If you've got something, try and get in Screen Actors Guild, try and get an agent, try and get a manager. Well, yeah, there's all those things, but there's actually an order to it. And if you do it in the wrong order, you just screwed yourself. Almost everybody wants to join the guild immediately, and then you join, you spend whatever it is, and it's probably in excess of $3,000 to join. Then you find out, well, you can't do non-union work. Well, at the beginning of your career, it's pretty much non-union work that's open to you to get, a feel for the business, to actually get experience on a set, and and you're actually growing with the people you're working with, or the director who's trying to do the same thing you're doing, which is get into the industry and make a name for himself. But now you shot yourself in the foot, because you can only do union work. And if they catch you doing non-union work, you're thrown out of the union, never to come back.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. There's all these things you can do to really mess your career up right in the beginning if somebody doesn't set you straight.
Definitely. I mean, it sounds like a very valuable tool, and we'll make sure we, like, in our little description, mention it. And,
at least put a link to the YouTube part of it. And if I get the other up, I'm actually rebuilding my own website right now, and I haven't been on it in a while. I've just been so busy the last 3, 4, 5 years, and I didn't realize. And it's a pretty comprehensive website. It's probably like 60 pages long, and has just tons of content about me and things I was in, and things about my 3 sons. What I didn't know was the company that I got the website through. well, it used to have what was called an SSL certificate on the website to tell you it was safe to go there.
Yes.
Or if you wanted to buy like a photo, an autographed photo or something. Now, if you go there, you see this little lock that's unlocked, and it was saying, "Whatever you do, don't go here, don't enter any information.
Oh no,
don't enter your." And I didn't know this for 5 years. I just thought, well, I guess nobody wants my picture anymore. And so I went there and I'm like, what is this thing? And I had to call the company and they go, oh yeah, you have to buy the SSL certificate separate now. So I thought, well, if I have to do that, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild the website. I haven't, that website's been around for 20 years. So I'm probably within a week of having it back up and all brand new looking, all fresh, graphics and stuff like that. And for me to be able to build it much quicker than in the old days, I don't know how much HTML I had to learn to build that one. Yeah, now it's just drag and drop and size and
What's crazy about that is that's kind of how we met. I was in college and I was messing around in the computer room, and where I was sitting at, they actually started a class on basic page building.
Yeah.
And so I learned a couple of things and made my own webpage. That's when like Yahoo and GeoCities like gave you so much bandwidth and you could put like up a personal page. And so you had to know the code and everything. So I put up there what I like, this, that, and the other. And this one clicked on it and we just started talking, and there you go.
Okay, give him the full story. My ex-fiance was teaching me how to do the internet. And he's like, yeah, look, there's even like, personal, sites and all of that, and clicked on his. I was like, oh, that guy's kind of cute. Oh, well, here's how you respond to him. And so
you should have started a dating site. You guys would be rich now.
There you go.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we are. We're the first couple in my family that met on the internet. And then my sister-in-law met her current husband on the internet. And so we constantly joke, it's like, yeah, those internet things, they never work out.
Well, this was like in 96 and 97. And weren't people telling you, like, well, I don't know. He's
a serial killer. He's a serial killer.
At that time, I was like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, he's a serial killer. It's like, well, 25 years later, he hadn't killed me yet. So I guess we're okay.
Well, hey, you met on the internet, not Craigslist. So.
Yeah. I know now it's Craigslist is the place you cannot meet.
Yeah, the crazy people. Yeah,
that's where all the serial killers are, and I don't know.
Well, they've been kicked off the normal sites because they found out, oh, this guy's insane. So that's why he had to go to Craigslist, because he couldn't go on the other sites.
There you go.
Well, I almost got kicked off had my website taken down initially because when I put it up, there was very limited what you could do.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling photos. And when I had a problem on one of the pages, I had to have a guy look at it. He goes, wow. He says, you have e-commerce here? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, how are you doing this? And I said, I wrote the code so I could do it. They wrote the code to bring in a PayPal button.
Yeah.
And they weren't aware you could do that because, basically that was a little side hustle they get you for later. So let us put up, the things you want to sell. And it's like, I don't need you.
I can do this myself. Yeah.
Right. It's bad enough I'm having to give them a percentage, PayPal. So I'm not going to give you a percentage for putting that up. I go. So he goes, this is pretty cool. He goes, I'm gonna have to remember this for myself. So yeah, you can do it. There's a lot you can do. You just have to be curious enough to, find out how to do it.
So your next educational videos will be how to do it yourself on the internet. You don't need
my next video is going to be how to get out of show business. Not get in, get out.
Get out.
It's almost like that famous line. What was it in one of those gangster movies? Oh, it was The Godfather 3. He goes, I keep trying to get out and they keep pulling me back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we keep messing with the cords here. We have a cat that is determined to be on our laps, and he's like tangling himself in all of our
not to get in all the
cords and all that. So
get him on the show. Get him on the show.
Eventually he will walk. He usually like about right here. He'll walk behind me and end up right here, like he's the star of the show if we let him. So yeah. Cats and Zoom.
Animals,
I don't know what it is about cats and Zoom, but he is He's determined to be on.
He just wants to be on TV.
Yeah. I was reading, kind of going back in time a little here, back to My Three Sons, because this sounds like the most confusing thing ever. But you guys filmed all of your episodes out of sequence? Like, I guess it's now called the McMurray method, where it's like you filmed all of the kitchen scenes at once, and then all the living room scenes at once, and then
not quite. I mean, people have it kind of messed up because they don't know. But I just saw a tail no
yeah, yeah.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, well, most movies and TV shows are shot out of sequence.
Well,
we don't start on scene 1 and then go to scene 2, scene 3, because if there's 3 scenes in the bedroom, they try and shoot those out. And one may be at the beginning of, the half hour, another may be in the middle, and one at the end. But, it's just convenient and expeditious to shoot those completely out. Or a lot of times if there's an actor working on a show, you'll try and shoot his scenes all in one day, so you don't have to pay him for 3 days.
Yes.
You just get him in and out. But what the McMurray method was the producer, Don Feddersen, the executive producer, enticed Fred McMurray to do a TV show, which in those days, big movie stars just didn't really do. They might make a guest appearance here and there, but to do the daily grind of a TV series is pretty onerous and time consuming. And Fred McMurray, at the time he did My Three Sons, was the highest paid actor in Hollywood. So to get him was a real coup. But there was a story behind that too. He and June, his wife, adopted twins, and they were about 6, 7 years old. He didn't want to go off and do movies and be gone for 3 months, 6 months, and come back, and your kids are really old. So this afforded him the opportunity to work close to home. He could go to work at 8 o'clock, and with the promise of being off at 6 p.m. And then the other part of the deal was he was going to work for 3 months up front. So he would be in every scene that we shot, so he could get a lot of his work over with. He'd leave for the summer months for 3 months, and then come back at the end of that for another couple months and finish out whatever they hadn't shot with him.
Yeah.
Or if there were scenes that he was in with us, he would walk into the scene, and we'd just pick up where we left off and let him walk into it. And for that, he made $500,000 a year, which was a considerable sum in 1960, and ownership of half the show. So that meant half the profits as well.
Yes.
And later he decided he didn't want to work till 6. So whatever we were doing at 5 o'clock, he was done, and they would let him off. And he's just a really easygoing guy. It's not like that was a tough thing to do. And, it was good for us as actors to know you don't always have to shoot stuff totally in the same sequence, but you can shoot them out of order. And then in the editing room, put it all back together and make it the way it has to be, especially for me, because I went on to producing and directing, and man, if I hadn't learned about that early on, and it didn't mean anything to me at that point. I had done it so much, but sometimes it freaks people out not to keep things in a certain order.
And Spooky has made his appearance in the video.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. He looks like a Halloween cat walking right there.
Yeah, he's a rescue, and they actually rescued him in the month of October. And that's how he ended up with the name Spooky. So, and we just kept it because we're Halloween people. So,
yeah.
Well, his full name.
My daughter was supposed to be born on Halloween, but it turned out her obstetrician had a golf game Thursday. So she was born 2 days earlier. She was induced labor because he wanted to play golf. So,
oh my gosh,
she was the 29th instead of the 31st, but she still got named Samantha. So,
well, there you go.
Like on Bewitched. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, our daughter was supposed to be born in March, but came in February, and she still weighed 8 pounds. So
wow.
I know. I'm like, if she had gone to term, and they're like, oh, she'd have been 10 pounds plus easy. I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they decided to take her early, because there'd have been no way. I felt so bad. I mean, she was in NICU because of her different birth defects, but she's 8 pounds. And here's this baby over here that's like 1.5 pounds, and this baby here that's 1 pound. And then there's my big old heifer baby. And I'm just like, just ignore my huge baby here.
I
It was,
I
it
think
was
I was
interesting.
only 4 pounds 8 ounces, so I was on the small side.
Oh my
Still
gosh.
am.
Well, we grow them big in our family. So she, like I said, 8 pounds. She was 6 weeks early. Both nieces had babies that weighed almost 10 pounds. My nephew's girls were over 9 pounds. I mean, we grow them big in my family, I guess. So,
Uh, my
yeah.
little brother Billy, he was 13 pounds when he was
Ouch.
born.
That's,
Yeah,
Whoa, that's a
yeah.
little
and
bit of a
he's
difference.
he's a big guy now too. I think he's well over 6 feet. So
Wow.
Yeah.
he was adopted, but the rest of us Livingstons were all on the shorter side.
Yeah. My dad liked to, every time a pregnancy was announced, he would look at the mother to be and go, now just remember, I weighed 11 pounds, 14 ounces at birth, and I was early. And that was his way of letting you know that DNA is now growing inside of you and it could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're lucky you had the oven turned up. You
Yeah.
might have waited another month to come out. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm coming now.
Yeah. Yeah. By the time, I mean, scheduled C-section for me. And yeah, by the time she came, I was like, I'm done. Really, I'm good. I'm good. Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm good. I've experienced everything. I'm good. We're done. So it ended up being a good thing for everybody. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We got way off topic there with pregnancy and all of that.
Oh,
I
let
think
me
we're going to
bring
talk
Yeah.
up
about
then.
what's coming up or with
Yeah.
all these other projects besides my three sons.
Because I know, are you still doing because I know for a while you were doing shows for PBS. Are you still?
Oh, I directed a TV series that was geared for PBS. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
okay.
the story of a circus. It was called Corey's Circus, also known as the Corey the Clown Show. And yeah, it got done. I don't know what the producer. I was brought in as just a freelance director to direct it. I
Mhm.
knew the
Mm-hmm.
people, and it was a load of laughs making it. It was it was a circus,
Well, we're
so
definitely
just
going
the
to
Yeah.
check that out.
characters alone, yeah, made it a lot of fun to do. And unfortunately, the funny part, well, funny, it wasn't so funny at that point in time. We had started to shoot on, I think it was, yeah, I think it was September 8th or 9th in 2001. So we
Mm-hmm.
shot for 3 days, and then 9/11
Oh,
happened.
Oh.
And all I remember is, the studio executives coming onto our set saying, "You guys are going to have to pack it in." When we knew it happened, but we're thinking, okay, we saw it. We're not involved in it. We're in LA, so whatever.
yeah.
And they said, "Well, you have to. We're going to close all the sound stages down, and indefinitely. We're not sure when we're going to let people
Oh.
back." And oh yeah, by the way, there's a plane headed to LA that said it was going to bomb a studio. And I remember thinking, as we were shooting at a very small boutique studio. In fact, it's the one where I shot Private Parts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
it had a number of names. I think when we shot, that was called Producer Studio. Now it was Raleigh Studio. And across the street from us is this humongous studio, Paramount. And I remember saying to the guy, "Are you sure?" I go, how would these people even know about Raleigh Studio? I don't think they meant Raleigh Studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
probably meant Paramount, maybe MGM, Disney, Universal, but
Yeah.
not Raleigh Studio. But anyway, they closed the studio down for about a week. And we were wondering, what's going to happen because we'd hired the crew and we had all the sets built and everything's ready to rock and roll. And now we're shut down. And anyway, about a week later, we all got to go in, but they had a guard at the gate now. And every day we came in, we had to open the trunk, they had to search the car, they had a
Wow.
mirror on a stick and look under your car to make sure you weren't going to blow yourself up or
Yeah.
something inside their studio. And I go, man,
Wow.
I can assure you, I am not blowing myself up. So
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
look if
That's
you want,
crazy.
knock yourself out.
Yeah.
But
It is. In my opinion, the world has maybe before then it was insane, but it seems like since then it's just
It's new.
ratcheted up and it's just
I just think it's a new brand of insane, and
new.
then more people know about it because more people have
Yeah,
cameras
we're
now.
so more
yeah,
plugged in than we were before. I think, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just think we're just as insane as we always have been, and
it's just
just
we're
we
more
just need
but
to
aware
now
of
be
it.
but
aware.
but now we're all in touch with each other,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like the insane guy in Tennessee wasn't in touch with the same insane guy in Arizona. and now they're all in a club together. So yeah, back then it was just not that way. I felt bad for the people who were producing this and to raise the money for it and all that, to go for probably almost a decade to get the money, and they had another pilot that they used to get more money, and then they decided they were going to completely redo it, and you struggle all that time, and then on the third day to be shut down by some enormous thing like your country being attacked. It's like, whoa, what happened? Why now? 6 months from now wouldn't have made any difference. We'd be done shooting with. I felt that was horrible, but fortunately we came back up a week later and got the job done. And just do what you got to do when you can do it.
Yeah.
Now, what was the circus show about? We need to check that out. But if you could tell us a little bit about that, only because I'm from Peru, Indiana, and that's like the circus capital of it's considered the circus capital of the world, and they have like an amateur circus with kids every year. So and we're talking about Sid Haig was in
well, I know
Little
Sid
Big
Haig.
Top.
Big Top.
Well, he was in a film that I co-wrote.
Oh, really?
The Aftermath. And in fact, I went to his. They had a memorial. He was alive, so I don't want to call it like a memorial, but they had a tribute to him. A couple of years ago, I guess it was, and the guy who wrote The Aftermath with me, and he was the producer and director on it, and his wife. We went, and got to talk to Sid and saw him again. There was a bunch of people that paid homage to him. It was really a nice evening, and then I think he passed away about 2 weeks later. It was really crazy, but. Yeah, another friend of mine did a movie with him, Spider Baby. Lady Beverly. Beverly. Do you know Beverly Washburn?
I don't know her, but
she was the girl in Spider Baby.
Okay.
But she was in like a lot of big Disney films, Old Yeller. I mean, just tons of stuff.
But 6 degrees of separation there, because
I've worked with everybody. There's a page on the website where it says credit list for my 3 sons, or the guests that have been on the show, and it reads like a who's who of show business, like old stars who were big in their heyday in the 40s, 50s, came to my 3 sons later in their career, and we're doing shows, and then there's people who are just starting out, and it might have been their first job, like Martin Sheen, I think Bo Bridges, Jodie Foster. I mean, there's so many people like that, and they were just learning how to act, and this was an opportunity. And in those days, My 3 Sons was one of the top rated shows. So for the old timers, they wanted to be in it, and they were usually working in scenes with Fred McMurray. So it was kind of glamorous and prestigious to be on that show. So we had a heck of a cast list.
I'm sure the up and comers were like, I got My 3 Sons, you're kidding me, even if it's just a walk on, and
it's now on my credits. In fact, there's a really funny guest star. There was one, Fred's job on My 3 Sons, he was supposed to be an aeronautical engineer, and a lot of times they would cut to this, it was just stock footage of Burbank Airport, and there was a building there that looked like it would have been an aeronautical factory, which it was. But what wasn't widely known, at least at that point, was that was the Skunk Works, Lockheed Skunk Works, where they built all the top secret planes. And it was so funny. I don't think they knew that. And I only knew it later because I'm an aviation buff. And I said, well, I guess they were implying that Fred, and they had scenes where he goes, I can't talk about what I'm working on. It's like top secret. But there's a scene where they cut to the office, and it's like a flashback of him sitting there when he's like a younger man, and somebody's chewing him out or whatever it was. You screwed this up, and you got to. Anyway, the guy playing Steve Douglas in that scene was Tom Skerritt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you look through My 3 Sons, there's a lot of stuff like that in it. They would leave. Yeah, Harrison Ford's in it. He's unfortunately he doesn't have a credit, but I saw the episode. I can't remember which one it was, but he was in a scene as an extra. No lines.
Wow.
So that's why I didn't have the credit, but I guess he needed the work. And when you're getting your feet wet, that's one of the things we tell actors is, hey, do extra work. Because you can learn the process, unless you're always at the catering table. But if you keep your nose to the grindstone, watch what's going on. That's how you learn how they do this stuff.
Yeah, there's this great documentary on extras where some people are just professional extras. They,
Yeah.
they're in the union, they just show up and they kind of do their thing. They're still around the business, and yet they don't have to really remember too many lines or whatever, but they're still a part of it and they're still getting paid for it. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just their thing.
Yeah.
I think most extras come there. I mean, that may be their fate, but all of them come there thinking it could be a platform or a springboard to, another job. And for a lot of times it is. That's why I tell people to do it. I can cite, I don't know how many circumstances where I've had to grab somebody who might have been an extra, or if I was really stuck, I've actually grabbed a crew guy and go, "Can you say this line? Could you learn this line? We're stuck.
Yeah.
We don't have it. We don't have time to cast it. We'll put the wardrobe on you. All you have to do is turn and
Just throw you
do
on
this
there,
and look
it'll
up and
make
say
up.
that line."
Yeah, it's like,
And
congratulations, you have a line, you have a credit. There you go.
yeah. My brother told a great story because we were trying to illustrate. That's what this segment was illustrating about how extra jobs do work and how they can be sometimes advantageous. So my brother went on an interview for a commercial, and I guess they were interested, and he had a call back, and then another call back, and that was down to about three guys. And I think he had another call back and finally got the job. Well, it turned out one of the other guys who was in the scene that was critical never showed up. And they had to pull again. Those people did the same thing I did. They pulled the crew guy. So the crew guy got the job, can now probably get in the Screen Actors Guild because he had dialogue. He got paid as an actor, so that was probably a lot more money than he was making. And meanwhile, my brother's thinking, "God, this guy just got pulled into it. I had to audition, go to 3 callbacks.
I had to go through all of this, and then this guy's just back there.
This guy just got serendipity, man. That's the key word in show business. A lot of times, it just requires showing up and being there. And breaks happen. Breaks happen because people don't show up, or they show up drunk, and you got to let them go. Or, I mean, I can't even tell you all the things that happen when you're doing it. And as a director, you got to be prepared to be flexible. You got to shoot it. You can't go home and say, "We'll do it tomorrow." That doesn't happen.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, we've interviewed a few people that have been like, they get someplace or they get a part, and the director ends up really liking them. Maybe the part only had like one line, but then the director really liked him, and so he starts adding, well, let's have him say it instead. Let's have him, and it ends up
let's call him back,
starring so and so
back on another show. The other thing, a lot of times you don't know who you're going to be working with. Another story I had my brother tell. He went on a Heineken beer commercial, and again went through that process of being called back 2 or 3 times. Got the job. He had maybe 2 or 3 lines in it, and that was it. And he gets to the set. And anyway, he got there and he's in makeup. And the assistant director says, "Hey, Barry, can I pull you out for a minute?" And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "Did they give you the sides yet?" And he says, "What do you mean the sides?" He goes, I got the script a week ago and I've learned it." And he goes, "Well, that's not the commercial." He goes, here's the commercial. You have to learn this because we're going to be shooting this in about 10, 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
No.
And so he said, "Have you met the director yet?" Barry said, "No." So he said, "Well, you better meet the director." So he dragged her. And so he meets, actually, he goes, "Barry, this is David Fincher." And Barry's like, "David Fincher? Are you kidding?" It's like, the A-list directing a Heineken beer commercial. And then he's, talked to David Fincher for a few minutes. And then, so he goes, "Well, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, it's like a top secret commercial. And, so we couldn't let a lot of people know." "Oh, have you met Brad yet?" And he said, "No, I met Brad." "Who's Brad?" So he goes, "Well, let me introduce you to Brad." And then you get back to makeup. So they go to a trailer, knock on the door, opens the door. He goes, "Barry, this is Brad Pitt." And Brad, "This is Barry." So Barry's like, mine isn't like now blown. He's like working with David Fincher and Brad Pitt. And he's the only other guy in the commercial. So anyway, it turned out what it was a Heineken commercial that was being made for the Super Bowl that year. And it was only going to air that one time. They paid Brad Pitt like $1 million to be in it. And it was going to be shown in Japan. They could show it there, but only once in America. So that was the commercial it was in. But what happened was about 6 months later, Barry went to his mailbox, and there was a large envelope in there, and he opened it, and there was a script in there, and it was for a film called The Social Network, and it had part of Mr. Cox circled on it. And anyway, I called his agent, and he said, "I got this." Oh yeah. David Fincher asked for you, so all from doing a commercial. So Barry was in The Social Network, had a real featured part right up front, 2 big scenes, and his face is like literally like that close to the camera, with the main guy in the back, the guy playing what forget his name,
Zuckerberg, yeah.
Yeah. And then so about a year later, he goes out on another commercial, and he's waiting in the waiting room and learning the lines, and it's his turn to go in. Well, guess who was behind the desk? David Fincher. It was an Orville Redenbacher popcorn commercial, and well, guess who got the part? Barry.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, same thing. Yeah, David Fincher used him again in the Zodiac. So
yeah,
that's why I tell people, look, just because it's a commercial, it's not beneath your dignity to do that. And what people don't know outside the industry, there's a lot of really big directors that have commercial production companies that actually personally direct these commercials. And it's not so much the commercial, it's who you're meeting. You now can establish a relationship with a big time director, and if you give them magic, they may have you come back or remember you, or you don't know what can come of it. And I always kind of tell this story what happened to Barry on these things. I have another friend who, it's just you're saying, you don't even want to be in show business, and somehow you get sucked into it. Ended up this guy's a big time actor, but his first job, he was a drug counselor, because before that he'd been a criminal. It was in San Quentin and Vacaville, and got his act together and cleaned himself up, and got himself cleaned up drug wise. And he was volunteering his services and worked for a company that kind of helped people get through their drug problems. So one day he got a call and said, "You need to go to this place. There's a guy that called in, said he thinks he's going to use drugs. You need to go up there and babysit him for a couple of days and keep him from doing it. And he's employed now and doesn't want to lose his job." So my friend Danny went up there, and he's meeting with this guy, and he's saying, "So what is this?" And he goes, "This is a movie set, man." He goes, I'm an electrician on a movie," or whatever the guy was. And so, they're kind of doing their business, and Danny talking to this guy and saying, "Well, you know what you got to do with the drugs, I'm not going to let you do it." And while he was there, some guy came up to him and said, "Hey, aren't you Danny Trejo?" And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "I saw you box at San Quentin." He says, yeah, I was like the light heavyweight there. And he goes, "Well, you know what? There's a boxing scene in this movie. Would you be willing to talk to the director?" And he said, "Sure." So the director came up and said, "I hear you're a boxer." And he said, yeah, I box. And he said, "Well, would you be willing to maybe show the actors some moves and stuff like that? We're going to be shooting this scene in the afternoon." And he said, "You know what?" He goes, "You got a really interesting look." He says, "You look like you could be in a prison," and they were shooting in a prison at this point. And so he didn't know Danny had been in prison. So he says, "Yeah, just let me get you in touch with the wardrobe guy over here, and why don't you show the actor, how to do the boxing part?" And so he said, "Well, do I get paid for this?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." He says, "Yeah, you're going to get like $600 a day." And so Dan's like, "Geez." He says, "For $600, how bad do you want this guy beat up?" And he says, "No. This is the co-star of the movie.
Fake stuff. Yeah.
Can't beat him up. You're the guy that's going to get beat up." So he had to go over and teach Eric Roberts. It was a film called Runaway Train, and there's a boxing scene right in the very beginning, and it's Eric Roberts and Danny Trejo is the guy in the ring with him, and they're throwing punches at each other. And so after that was over, he went back to he says, "That's kind of interesting because I made $600." He goes, "I used to have to rob liquor stores all night to get that much money." He goes, "How do I do this? How do I come back here and get another job like that?" He said, "Well, there's people that handle character actors, and and a guy like you, kind of like a semi stunt guy, And so when he got back to LA, he looked into it and started going out, not getting big jobs. He said, most of the jobs I got would be, bad guy number two, thug number one,
Yeah.
Mexican bandito number seven, that kind of stuff. But he did that for years and years, and suddenly people started noticing, hey, this guy's got a really interesting face and makes a
Yeah.
great bad guy. And he parlayed that into a whole career work. He's making $1 million a movie. He has a production company. He's produced 4 or 5 movies.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in
Yeah.
LA, took some of his money. He's got Danny Trejo taquerias all over town now. So he's in the taco business. And then
Well,
I
there you
saw
go.
one that was Danny Trejo donuts now at Santa Monica and La Brea.
There you
That's
go.
funny.
So
Yeah.
he's just the nicest, sweetest guy you've ever met. In a prior life, if you turned into a dark street or an alley and you saw him coming at you, you would kill yourself so he didn't get you.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
scary.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually
anyway,
worked with him, and he is a sweetie. I do a horror movie convention, and he appeared at the convention, and yeah, he is a complete sweetie when you meet
yeah,
him.
he
But
is.
yeah, to
Yeah,
look at him, you're just like, yeah, if I didn't know who he was, I'd be like,
yeah.
sketchy
Yeah, it's
dude to
funny
the
because
left.
we
Yeah.
talked about that a lot. She goes, I have to be really careful because I did this movie called Spy Kids. Now they're like, kids love me. He goes,
Yeah.
kids were all over me, and I don't want to
Yeah.
ruin that. So, I'm so careful, about what I take and what I
Yeah.
do, and I
Yeah.
treat it like a business. I get up and yeah, I mean, it was really important for me to have a guy like that in the actor's journey because there's people that have all kinds of excuses why they can't do it, and when I talk to them, the excuses are just so superficial. I'm going, look, I have a friend that got into show business, is a major star that got here by way of San Quentin, so I don't want to hear you can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually he has a journey to tell you about. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
when you when you read his biography, you're just like, oh my God, he did all of that.
Yeah. He's seen some
yeah,
stuff.
no,
But then
Yeah.
he, I mean, did a 180, and now look at him now. It's like people can change, people can
people can
grow. Here's
change.
proof.
If you
Yeah.
want to do something, it sometimes a door opens.
Yeah.
That's
I
what show business is. There's doors opening, and when they open, you got to be prepared to go through them.
exactly. I'm constantly saying, like, whenever we do interviews with people who are like, yeah, we're getting ready to do a movie or whatever, I'm like, if you need dead body number 3, I'm your girl. I don't know why it's my dream to play dead body number 3. I would love to play
Well,
dead body number
I,
3.
We're definitely
You know.
we're definitely extras for hire because I'm a flight attendant in my real life, and we can go wherever you need us to go. We'll just be in the
yeah,
background just
that's
to hang out.
convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah, I
I don't.
remember afterwards, Danny was getting hired as an extra, and they asked him. He says, "Could you be an extra?" And he didn't know the term, and he says, "An extra what?"
We just need you on the street. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's because I love like all those like Criminal Minds and CSI
Yeah.
shows and all of
My
that.
wife has done a bunch of those.
Yeah.
She's done a bunch of films, and early on when she was doing stuff, she did a lot of those crime reenactment shows. Or
Yeah.
we figured out she's been shot, stabbed, and shot, and then she did another one where she got hit by a tornado for the Weather Channel. So,
Oh,
that's a good one.
okay, that's a
yeah.
unique one. Yeah.
Normally she gets hired to play like a lawyer or a prosecutor because in real life she is an attorney. So
Okay.
that was
Okay.
easy for her. Yeah. She got in, she's these lines are not right. That the prosecutor would never say that. It's like, oh, okay, well you can change those.
That's funny.
I do love it though when they any sort of production where they get somebody in there that knows that character, like your wife knows how a lawyer would talk, how and they actually listen, and they're like, oh,
Right.
okay, let's make it. Because I know, like, I was reading like with Stranger Things, Winona Ryder was like, you've got this, you're using this song, and this song didn't come out for another 2 years, and in 1980 whatever, we wouldn't, this would be this and this, and they're like, oh, okay, let's change it. And it's like I love writers, directors, whatever, that will listen to somebody that knows what they're talking, an actor that knows what they're talking about, and be like, okay, how do we make this more real? How do we
Well,
it,
if you're a director, that's your job. You should be open to hearing whatever,
yeah.
Yeah.
Heeding, if you're just trying to make it your imprint on it and it's not the way it really is, then, you end up with junk at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always hoping you get people that have good suggestions that, just makes the product better. And, another thing as a director you're looking for is what I call happy accidents, where stuff happens that wasn't planned,
Yeah.
but it's so good that you keep it in. A case in point is American Graffiti. I guess you guys have probably seen that.
Oh yeah.
But there was that scene at the beginning where Terry the Toad, the nerd, pulls up to Mel's Diner, and he was driving like a Vespa, a little motorbike. And when he shot the scene, he didn't really know how to ride it that well, and so he was sort of practicing before they shot him. But in the actual scene, Charlie Martin Smith, I guess he got flustered. He came into the scene and got it to a stop, but then hadn't turned it off and let the clutch back. The thing just lurches forward and like crashes into like the Coke machine. And but he realized he hadn't heard the word cut, so he just got off the bike and kind of brushed himself off like nothing happened. And I think he walked up to Richard Dreyfuss, and then he hears cut, print. And Charlie goes up to George Lucas and says, "I crashed the bike into the thing. Don't you want to reshoot it?" He goes, "I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it."
Yeah, sometimes you just
if you watch the movie,
yes.
it's in.
Yeah,
it's in. And that's what you're looking for as a director. Those kind of little moments that you couldn't plan that. I mean, if you tried to do that, it would take 10 takes to get it probably right.
Yeah.
And this was just one of those happy little things. And it was so in character for that character. I mean, you see him and then he screws up shutting the motorbike off and having lurch like that is perfect for a guy named Terry the Toad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then he's just like, nobody saw. Keep going.
Yeah, nobody saw it. Yeah.
Keep going.
Like
keep going.
that didn't happen.
Yeah, I do love when you read about a scene that sticks with you that you think is either like really funny or really just really, really good. And then you read later that it was either a happy accident or was something that the actor just like threw in and the director was like, "Oh my God, that's great. Keep it." You gotta love a director that's like that's perfect. Keep it.
Well,
especially having a trust in your actors and knowing that exactly the way you see it when they bring it out, it's going to be a little bit different. And I would say most of the time for the better, only because they're bringing it more to life than what's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a definitive character like that, that's what the director's relying on. That no matter what happens, I don't care what it is, stay in character.
Yeah.
Even if you don't hear the word cut, just
keep going
in character. And that means there's nothing wrong. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, you're like apologizing. And they're like, "You have to apologize." I'm like, perfect.
Like, I am so sorry.
I would have never thought of. Yeah, I would have written that in had I thought of it, but you gave it to me. You stayed in character.
Yeah. And you got to give credit to the actors too, that when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
Didn't
like,
break.
Okay.
Oh man, sorry, I just screwed up.
Yeah,
let's do it again. He didn't do that. You
Yeah.
just keep going. That's
Keep
your
rolling.
job as the actor, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, we should probably.
I'd say we've been talking for like an hour, but
we can keep talking.
I know we can keep talking to you forever.
But we need to get in some plugs.
I say any projects you're plugging other than the.
Well, at the moment, I'm just coming out of COVID. I had a couple projects. Actually, I had a TV talk show that I backed out of because I was the executive producer on it. And the guy whose name was on the LLC is the manager. And this was with the height of COVID a couple of years ago. And I just thought, man, this is too much liability for me. If somebody comes in, gets sick on this production, I'm the guy that's
totally
suing.
Understand.
Or if somebody gets sick and dies, I'm the guy they're suing. And so, I had to tell my partners, I'm going to back out. If you guys want to continue on, be my guest, but I'm going to wait this out a little bit longer. And at this simultaneously, I had a sitcom that we had brought up to speed, and we're just going out, beginning to try to raise money for. And I just thought, you know what? I don't want to do the same thing on the talk show where we were successful and actually raised the money and had to
and
give
then
it back.
Yeah.
So
COVID
that would break
really,
my heart.
COVID really
Put a
just
clamp on things.
just screwed up a lot of people's
It did. And it's
plans
still
and
here.
and
way of production, you have to do so many weird things now just because it was there, and it makes it more expensive to shoot, and it's just a headache. So I've basically been trying to just sit it out, and hopefully maybe by late in the fall or the end of the year, beginning of next year, it's clean and you can go out and do what you used to do, and try to raise the money again and shoot this little TV pilot. It's cute. But other than that, tonight I'm going to the Hollywood Museum. They're having the 100th anniversary of the Little Rascals. So that should be fun. And I'm going to speak there. Not that I was a little rascal, but I was like a little rascal when I grew up on TV. But coincidentally, before My Three Sons isn't really that well known to the public, I did a TV pilot for Jackie Cooper, who was a rascal.
Yes.
Anyway, he produced, directed, and wrote a TV series for me that I starred in called Skippy, which was based on a movie he did in 1931 called Skippy, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award, and to this day remains the youngest actor in a lead role ever nominated for an Academy Award. And the director, Norman Taurog, won, and the movie was nominated for an Academy Award. I can't remember if it won or not. But anyway, he met me while I was doing Ozzie and Harriet, because I wandered onto his set and had a conversation, introduced him to my mom, and 3 months later I was shooting a TV pilot for Jackie Cooper. And then my other little connection to the Rascals was one of the first films I did, it might have been the second or third, was a film called Rally Round the Flagpoles with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
Yes.
And the movie was directed by Leo McCarey, who wrote most of the
Little Rascals.
And he's the guy that put Laurel with Hardy. He put them together as a duo. They were a separate act before that.
So we have him to thank for Who's on First.
I have all those guys to thank for me getting My Three Sons. Had I not wandered on that set, if I had not done Ozzie and Harriet and started working there, that's where I became an actor. And because of that, I met Jackie Cooper. Because of Jackie Cooper and this film that I did for him, the film was shown to the producers of My Three Sons about a year later, and I was hired the next day to play Chip. So
there you go.
Shows you how everything is interconnected.
I was gonna say, those 6 degrees of separation. It's like, you never know, one interaction with somebody could lead to this, could lead to this, could lead to this, and then the next thing you know,
there you go.
That's what I'm saying. It's like my brother with David Fincher.
Exactly.
Hasn't heard from him in a while, so I don't know. But at least he did 4 things with him, and it's better than none, because at least that's in your resume.
I mean, not many people can say they got to work with David Fincher because of a beer commercial. So I mean,
it's crazy how it works. You just don't know, and never second guess. Just go do the job. If it's no good, nobody's ever going to see it anyway. And if it is good, it leads to somewhere. And even if it doesn't, sometimes make it on the air, the reel is golden because of the work you did that you showed to somebody else.
That's
buddy of mine did a film. Buddy of mine did a film at the beginning of his career. He was just kind of a languishing actor in New York at the Actors Studio, and he did this small film for a big director too. But he was at the end of his career. In fact, this was his last film, called The Visitors. And my buddy Steve Railsback was the star of it. Well, because of that film, somehow Elie Kazan knew somebody was putting together a TV movie about Charles Manson called Helter Skelter. And, Elia sent the film there, and they saw Steve and went, "Holy moly, this guy's Charles Manson." So he got brought out to California and read for the director and the producers, and anyway, that put him on the map. He did Helter Skelter, and for a while was known as Charles Manson. I mean, you just don't know what your work is gonna do, and then a lot of times you're fighting all the weird things in your own industry, the prejudices and perceptions of you that, you've been in a TV series for 10, 12 years, and that's the only thing that you can do, even though that's what you're known for. But, we fight that, and, you try to do different things. I just did a little film, like a short film, and I hadn't acted in, well, gosh, I don't even, probably 5, 6, 7 years. But some guys called me up and say, hey, we saw you. I had worked with these guys a long time ago, and they said, we think you'd be right for this part. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not really an actor anymore. And he said, well, let us send it to you. And I said, well, how long is the production? And they said, we can get it all shot in one night if you're willing to stay all night. So I went, okay, so send it. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, this is really different from anything I did before, and I'll make it different. But anyway, so I had about a month to learn it, because as soon as I hung up, I went, geez, I said yes, but I'm wondering if I can remember 8 pages of dialogue. So I was kind of freaked out, but I had about a month before it was being shot. So I just slowly brought myself up to speed and did it. Okay. Anyway, it's on YouTube. These guys do these things. They're actually, I guess, licensed Star Wars things. They're shorts. And the one I was in was called Antiquities. And I think there was a series of 5 of these done. And I'm in the last one called The Drifter. And yours truly is The Drifter. So I was totally disheveled. Back the beard I grew for that, I still have. But yeah, as Gabby Hayes, man, I'm like a really irritable old guy out there with a lightsaber.
Sweet.
So yeah, and I get blasted away at the end. So that was kind of fun.
I don't know. I think that would kind of be a fun part to play. Just the
they all get shot by phasers at the end.
So he got killed by a lightsaber. So why not?
Yeah, I got a gun. He uses the Force to take the gun right out of my hand. It sails over to his hand, and then
there you
go. He does something. I'm about ready to attack him.
Yeah.
He takes me down, man.
There you go.
It's fun to do. In fact, the guys that I did it for, how I met them, I produced and was in a film in 2012. It was actually the last Cinerama film ever done. And we actually shot it with a real Cinerama camera, 3-strip 35 millimeter Cinerama process, which was pretty onerous. And we had to cannibalize parts. There was only 3 Cinerama cameras around in storage, so they put one of them back together and we shot with it. It was interesting for me because so this would have been the 50-year anniversary of Cinerama.
Yeah,
that's what we were doing. There was going to be a Cinerama Film Festival at the ArcLight, so that's why we did this project. But 50 years before that, I was in the last Cinerama film, which was How the West Was Won.
Okay.
So it was, it's sort of like
pretty crazy,
very recursive. Yeah, I'm in the film, and then I was in the film 50 years ago, and then in the picture ends up in the Cinerama Dome where I'm up on screen in How the West Was Won. Whole jumble
just
of
all this,
Cinerama. Anyway, while we were doing it, these guys approached us and said, hey, this is so interesting. Would you be up to us doing a documentary about the making of In the Picture? And we went, no, that'd be great. So they made a documentary. I think it's up on YouTube too. It's called The Last Days of Cinerama.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. Yeah,
it's very interesting, and even from an historical point of view, people that are interested in Cinerama, which saved the movie industry.
Yeah, it hits both of my. I love documentaries. Granted, I do love a lot of true crime documentaries, but I also love historical documentaries because I'm a history teacher's daughter. So anything that feeds into the historical aspect of anything, really.
The film part of it, the different textures of film, like the grade of the film, and like a good example is you have Cinerama, but then if you have say private parts, that's definitely a different feel for the film itself. That you can
that's
tell.
a stylistic film.
Exactly.
This is more of a technical one. But Cinerama has its place in history. A lot of people don't realize when Cinerama came along in 1952, 53, and these guys who invented it, they didn't know what to do. So they made documentaries, The Wonderful World of Cinerama. And this is Cinerama. And it's basically they would go to places that, like the pyramids of Egypt and different, cultural things. But, for audiences back in those days, people didn't travel extensively, maybe starting in 1960. So 53, this was like a big deal. But what it did is the movie industry, the theaters were closing in droves because of this little thing called TV. And they had to think of something to get butts back in seats in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And Cinerama turned out to be this thing that presented widescreen, not like the little square box, and no longer on film, a square box, but it basically covered your periphery vision. It was that wide. And it was, remarkable looking, especially in the Cinerama theater that had the curved screen.
Yeah.
So it was a big event, in 1953, 52, 53, 54, when they would play a Cinerama film. People weren't going there like today, wearing their swim shirts and white beaters. They were dressing up in tuxedos going to these movies. And it seriously did open the door to another, version of show business, which was widescreen. The 3-strip cinematography was very costly and expensive and time consuming to do. So somebody came up with a lens that would emulate the width of the Cinerama screen. I think it was called VistaVision Ultra.
Yeah.
Panavision,
one of those visions,
anamorphic too, so you could squeeze it onto one piece of film instead of 3 separate ones, and then when they show it, you'd use the same lens and then unsqueeze it in the theater, and it would give you the same peripheral view that you would have, which is really, if you've ever seen a real Cinerama film, besides the material being kind of boring, it actually is visually stunning. What you get, as opposed to looking at a flat screen, you're just kind of looking at a flat screen. But when the screen curves around you, it's kind of like, and there's motion in the picture. What happens? It emulates real life. It's like being in your car, and you know how you look straight ahead and you're going at that but
speed,
on the sides at the same time, the sides are going right by you. So it emulated that, really made it interesting. And basically widescreen came to be. Everybody had their version of it. All the different studios, CinemaScope, VistaVision, and started shooting films like that, and they filled up the theaters again. But without Cinerama, that would have never happened. It would have been
who knows what would have happened.
The movie theater.
Now
it's dire straits again.
I know. Now it's how do you get butts back in the seats again? Because I know a lot of people that had movies that they were going to release when the lockdown happened. They're like, well, what streaming service can we sell it to?
I think
and let them do it.
Get the audience past the point where they're willing to come to the theater to see something other than Ant-Man and Spider-Man and Superman on the big screen. There's so many great stories out there that can be told, but it seems like the studios are, and I get it from an economic standpoint, they want to spend $200 million on a movie, which is very costly. And I'm thinking, wow, for that amount of money, you can make $45 million films, and a lot of them would probably appeal to different audiences, but they want to put all their eggs in one basket, come out with a $200 million movie and hope it makes $1 billion, which is kind of what has to happen. But it cuts a lot of the other players and new filmmakers out, because there isn't that other $200 million that they're willing to give to them to come up with these smaller stories that make, I think great personal films.
And sometimes there's a lot of like little hidden gems that just get overlooked.
Oh, there are. I prefer those kind of movies. I don't go to any superhero movie. I don't want to see kicking and biting and flying and falling 40 stories and getting back up and walking away.
There are only
what we started with the podcast was reviewing
movies.
The movies on Netflix and such that were the smaller ones that you didn't hear about as much, but they're just a lot more interesting.
Because it's like just going through streaming now, it's like I never heard of this movie. This movie came out 10 years ago, but I had never heard of it, and now it's on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and you watch it and you're like, I would have loved to have seen this on the big screen.
Exactly.
This would have
looked amazing on the big screen. How did I not hear about it? And then you look at what other movies came out at the same time. It's like, it got lost in the shuffle of this or that or the other. And
if you look at Tubi TV, it's like a real warehouse of films that just didn't get distributed. But I mean, my
yeah.
God, there's so much content out there, and yeah, a lot of those movies are marginal, but there are some that blow you away. They're like so good or well made or a
Yeah.
great idea, even though
Oh
it's low budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
saw this.
There are so many movies out there that, you look at their budget and they might as well have had $5, to work with.
Yeah.
But
I've seen movies that way, and if the scenario is good, I saw one where these people got trapped on a ski lift, and for the place shut down for the weekend, and they didn't realize there was people halfway up the hill on a ski lift, and the whole thing takes place
right
on
there.
the ski lift chair.
Wow.
And it was the most knuckle biting, scary, thrilling movie I've ever seen in my life. I wish I could think of the name of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about too, and it
has a name almost like a Disney film, like Frost or Snow or
Frozen
like
or one of the
Frozen.
Frozen.
Yeah, I think it was like it's Frozen.
It's Frozen. Yeah.
If you look it up, it was on Tubi, and I've seen it a couple of times. But that is one of the most. It was a great idea. You could probably shoot the bulk of it on a soundstage. You just had a green screen and a good fog machine because the snow was blowing, and and you're close on these people on this ski lift chair a lot of the times, and then when you're not, you just go up and get your real locations and get those out of the way because it wasn't that much of it. But oh my God, I couldn't take it.
A friend of mine told me, a friend of mine told me about that. She's like, yeah, I watched Frozen and it was amazing. I'm like, well, yeah, Elsa and Anna. And she's like, no, not that one. It was, and she told me, and I'm like, it's on my list of things I need to watch. But yeah, I mean, you can have a great movie and spend, what is considered very little in this industry.
That would be very low budget.
And
then there's other movies that just don't make it. I just watched something on, I think it was Hulu the other night, and I think it was made in 2015 by Ron Howard. And I don't ever remember hearing about this movie, seeing it. It's called In the Heart of the Sea. And it was about Moby Dick. Actually, the guy who wrote it, how it comes about, this writer comes to this, grizzly old sea guy who tells this story to him. And so, they get into the story, but then it goes into the visuals. So you see what really, how it happened. But, the guy sitting there is a young writer named Herman Melville. And he goes, hey, Mr. Melville, I hope you can do something with that story. And about a year later, it got published and was called Moby Dick. But when you hear the real story, not the Gregory Peck version, you go, oh my God, that was horrendous what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, what those guys had to go through to survive after that whale decided to take out this big whaling ship.
Yeah.
Like about a 200-foot long freak whale. And they did something to the whale's wife. He got pissed, man, and he lays waste to the ship, leaving all these guys stranded in these little boats on the ocean for a month. And then they finally get somewhere, or like an island, but they realize they can't stay there and got to go back out on the water. And finally, do make it home, some of them, but the movie becomes about what are we going to eat?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. Joe's not
okay. Whoever gets the short straws dinner, and
Like, could you please die soon? I'm hungry.
Yeah, it's like, not that we really want you to die, but if you could just,
if you're gonna,
dinner time's coming, and but streaming is good for helping you find those little.
It is. Well, anyway, this movie is brilliantly shot because, as sometimes they get static or the camera doesn't move, and this is like, I mean, it was brilliant how it's filmed. He just, went into every last detail, what goes on a whaling ship. So you had all that remarkable detail in addition to pushing the story forward.
Yeah, we'll have to add that to our list.
Yes.
Yeah, I would check that one out.
I have so much stuff on my list anymore that it's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get through it, because everybody keeps telling me, oh, you need to see this, you need to see this. And I add it to my list of stuff to watch. And I think I now have about 5 years worth of cinema I need to get through on my list.
I've got that list too. I go up to Hollywood, and there's a store there called Amoeba, which they have DVDs. I'm always wanting to get the DVDs. I'm in there a lot, trying to find old movies. I was trying to find an old Steve McQueen movie that I've been looking for probably 15 years, and nobody ever had it. And I walked in there, it was a couple months ago, and they had it, called Hell is for Heroes with Steve McQueen.
Yes.
It's got a stellar cast again of beginners who just, nobody knew them. James Coburn is in it, Fess Parker, Bobby Darin, Wally Cox, Harry Gardino. These were all people that were yet to have a career.
Yeah.
And they're all in this weird little war movie that was pretty realistically done. But yeah, it's amazing. The cast is what I remember. I saw it in the movie theater with my brother, when we were kids, and we went back and saw it a couple times. We were in war movies back when we were kids. And this movie was really, watching it again, it wasn't quite as exciting as I remember, but definitely well done. And man, put Steve McQueen on the map.
Yeah,
definitely a better movie than the
movies
Blob.
that have like just that cast of what are considered nobodies, and to know that the career that they got after that, this is the movie that they were all in, and to see that beginning and to see those first glimpses of how incredible they could be. And you're like,
remarkable talent. And what a mix. Oh yeah, Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
That was in there. And he was kind of the comic relief. He was kind of like this incompetent corporal, but they cast it perfectly. Yeah, the guys that they picked. Nick Adams was another guy that was in. Yeah, so it's a stellar cast.
Yeah,
really well done, and it's like one of those points in time where what was it, like Rumblefish had all those young young adult actors that all happened to be in the same movie, and they all became like $20 million actors.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, this has been just like absolutely amazing. Like I said, dream come true for me, because
thank you.
Yeah,
I had a good time.
I said, too. Chip was one of my childhood crushes. So to get to just sit here and talk with you has been absolutely amazing.
Definitely, whenever you have the spare time, please,
if you have a new project to
talk about, there's a lot more. We can talk about movies like all day.
We're bad. We're bad about that. We could talk for hours about movies, and always find new things to talk about. So sometimes we just have to cut ourselves off, because it's like, okay, we have to get to this.
Okay. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to plug while we got a couple minutes, or everything good?
If I do, you'll hear about it, or I'll
definitely
email you and let you know, or maybe when I get this Actor's Journey thing back up,
streaming
media,
definitely,
definitely, yes. Let us know. We'll have you back so we can help you promote that.
We can plug it
because it sounds absolutely amazing and absolutely necessary.
Definitely
in the entertainment industry. So as soon as you get that up for streaming, we'll have you back and we can talk in depth with it. That'd be great. Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on today. And it's been a real pleasure, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay, you guys have a great day.
You too. Okay, guys, that was the amazing Stanley Livingston, my childhood crush.
My three sons.
My three sons. But I mean, the guy, he's
done everything.
He's done everything. He's in the process of rebuilding his own website, so he's a tech dude too.
Also his series that he's doing on the business side of being an actor and knowing what you're doing is pretty cool. If you look on YouTube right now, you can see some clips on that, and they got some amazing people and some actually really good advice.
Yeah, so if you are in the entertainment industry in any way, shape, or form, this sounds like a documentary that you need to check out. And as soon as it gets to streaming, we were talking to him after, as soon as it gets to streaming, we're going to have him back on to talk about just that. Because from the sounds of it, it sounds like it should just be like acting 101 required viewing.
Definitely.
Or entertainment industry, period. Whether you want to do directing, producing, acting, what have you. It sounds like an invaluable tool.
one last thing, Private Parts. Definitely check it out if you like horror. It's weird and it's definitely early 70s. It's definitely.
I wouldn't really call it horror. More of a suspenseful murder mystery with a twist. It's definitely 70s.
Horror, but it's definitely early 70s campy, but it's still got cinema, some really cool stuff to it. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We really can't say much more.
We're gonna head out.
Yeah, so we've got more interviews that we are trying to line up. One that we definitely have lined up that we'll talk about later. It's a secret. No, it's not a secret. It's just we'll talk about it later. So until next time, have fun. We'll talk to you later.